Assalamu alaikum everyone. I am Dr. Mah Ali and I'll be speaking on patient blood management for next 20 minutes. Okay. Okay, so I have nothing to disclose. This is the outline of my presentation. So I'll start with giving the introduction of PBM, and then we'll see that why we need it, and then 3 pillars of patient blood management. Okay, okay, thank you. And then we'll see the strategies for its implementation, and then challenges faced, and then I'll conclude with the summary. Okay, fine. Okay, so what is patient blood management? Patient blood management is an evidence-based multidisciplinary approach to optimizing the care of patient who needs transfusion. So this term was first time used in 2005, and its purpose was to bring a realignment in transfusion practices from product focus to patient focus. So by using this concept, we cannot completely avoid transfusion, but yes, we can significantly reduce it and ultimately reducing the side effects of transfusion. 2010, World Health Assembly passes a resolution, and in which it recommends its member state to implement patient blood management. AAWB offers accreditation courses on patient blood management, and Australian Commission on Safety and Quality in Healthcare also included PBM in national in hospital accreditation programs. So the question is why we have to. Am I audible to everyone? सबको मेरी आवाज़ आ रही है? मेरे ख्याल में बहुत ज़्यादा थोड़ी सी सबको मेरी आवाज़ आ रही है पीछे तक? ठीक है, so everybody can hear me, so I think मैं continue करती हूँ. So the question is कि why do we have to limit transfusions? So the rationale for this is very clear. There are serious hazards of transfusions. Okay, ठीक है. So there are serious hazards of transfusions, which included transfusion-transmitted infections, and obviously the risk of mortality and morbidity is associated. Cost is another issue. So this is with reference to a study which shows that the patient undergoing cardiac surgery who receives transfusion has a high mortality and post-operative complications. So let's look at some evidences of the hazards of transfusions. So transfusion transmitted infections are prevalent in our region. We are all aware of this. Pakistan has the highest global burden of hepatitis C infection. Hepatitis B is also prevalent in our region. Okay, so WHO Global Hepatitis Report 2024 shows that Pakistan accounts for 44% of new infections from unsafe injections. So the condition of HIV is also not very good. Between April to July 2019, almost 31,000 individuals underwent HIV testing, of whom 930 tested positive for HIV. 82 were younger than 16 years, and 79% of these were aged 5 years and below. So it caused a 54% of increase in pediatric HIV diagnosis over the past 13 years. Well, this is annual short report of 2023, which continues to highlight the error in transfusions. So errors including near miss continues to account for majority of the reports, which included almost 83.1%. Okay, there were 38 reported deaths with various grading of imputability to transfusions. Well, if you see that there are almost 200 cases of major morbidity, and most cases, that is 60% almost, resulted from febrile, allergic or hypotensive transfusion reactions and TACO. So cost is another issue for which we need PBM implementation. Cost in net testing cost, storage cost, reagent cost, blood transfusion reaction management cost is also an issue. So this is data from the Cost of Blood Consensus Conference, which shows that the cost of blood has been seriously underestimated. चल रहा, ये आपका पॉइंटर नहीं चल रहा, ठीक है. So coming to the principles of patient blood management. So patient blood management is centered around three main principles or pillars, you can say. The first is optimize erythropoiesis, that optimizing the HB, and the second is minimizing the bleeding and or blood loss, and third is optimize the physiologic tolerance of anemia. So by using these principles or pillars, we can implement patient blood management. This is the patient blood management matrix, which the ultimate goal of patient blood management is improve patient outcome. So how you can achieve this goal? By looking at these strategies, or by implementing these strategies, which are managing anemia, optimizing coagulation means optimizing the loss, reducing the loss. A patient-centered decision-making approach is very important, and blood conservation, use of blood conservation modalities. So the first strategy is the managing anemia. So before any planned surgery, what you can do is you can optimize the hemoglobin of your patient by giving hematinics like iron, folate, B12 supplements, or sometimes erythropoietin also helps. So by doing this, you can optimize the HB before planned surgeries or elective surgeries, thus reducing the transfusions. Sorry. Okay, the second is a strategy to involve patients. So patient-centered decision-making is very important. Your patient should be aware of alternatives to transfusions. So this is again an important approach. Then third is a strategy to optimize coagulation, that how you can reduce the bleeding during surgeries or during other procedures. So point of care testing, you can use point of care testing, TAG, thromboelastography to measure time and dynamics of clot formation and stability of clot over time. This you can use during major surgeries like cardiac surgeries, and by using this you can also do judicious use of plasma and platelet products. Use of tranexamic acid, which is an antifibrinolytic, minimizes or reduces the bleeding. This will also help. While another key or the key concept of PBM, you can say, is the blood conservation. So I would say restrictive transfusion strategy is very important, which means that the cutoff of hemoglobin is not always HB less than 10. So if there is a hemoglobin is less than 10, then you need to transfuse the patient. Most of the time it's hemoglobin somewhere around 6, 7, 8, depending upon the clinical condition of the patient. So use restrictive transfusion strategy, selective use of microcontainers to minimize the phlebotomy, blood loss, use small tubes which has small, which collect a small amount of blood, reduce unnecessary testing. So these will all help in blood conservation. So this is a famous TRIC trial, and this basically trial has completely changed the transfusion practices, and the conclusion of this trial is that restrictive strategy, that is HB, hemoglobin less than 7 of red cell transfusion, is at least as effective and as possibly superior to liberal transfusion strategy, which is hemoglobin less than 10. Well, implementing PBM needs implementation of evidence-based transfusion guidelines to reduce the variability in transfusion practice, employment of multidisciplinary team, monitor local blood management strategies, hospital-wide blood conservation policy and protocols, and continuing education for physicians, nursing, and patient is very important. Well, if you look at some challenges, then clinician resistance to change, where resistance is always there, and you have to overcome this. So broader system approach is needed, resources are limited, and translating evidence-based guidelines into clinical practices is also lacking. ID supports is not very good in our country. So well, this is the summary. I would before summarize my presentation, I would say that patient blood management is not only it benefits your patient, but it will benefit the healthcare system also. So move it. Okay, so protect the patients from unnecessary or excessive transfusion. Take transfusion decisions not simply by hemoglobin, but by patient symptoms and comorbidities, which I said earlier that overall patient clinical condition is very important, not just the hemoglobin level. Utilize restrictive transfusion strategy. Reduce iatrogenic anemia through reduction in both the volume and frequency of blood draws. And avoid arbitrary 2-unit transfusion. Consider transfusion alternatives for anemia management. So this is it. Thank you so much.